everyone, I'm back and I'm gonna continue to work on my Take It Apart, Put It Back Together an Analysis Project paintings. So I'm in the Take It Apart section where I've asked you guys to create 4 small paintings on 2 sheets of canvas paper that have been cut in half so that you end up with a little abstract series. My hope is that, they make cool little paintings in and of themselves, but they could also become pretty thoughtful little backdrops that then you can build upon later for a little more complex work. So the artist that we're looking at for my reference to take apart is this guy, Jörg Dressler. And I was excited about his chroma and value shifts and these geometric shapes in the background. So I recreated something like that, where I tried to set up on my palette a similar set of value shifts and chroma shifts. But instead of using his geometric shapes, I borrowed my friend Becca's picture of a ribbon and used it to break down my space. So now I'm going to break down a couple more portions of the painting. And it says maybe just paint the background. While his backgrounds are very flat, some of you might be looking at works that the background is where everything is at, like it's real complicated, so that could be really fun. Just paint the middle ground, just paint the foreground, paint only the highlights, painting the low lights. Find different ways, let them kind of speak to you to help you understand parts that you can use in your own future paintings. So let's see. I like in this one that it's just solid flat. So I think I might just try to make a real clean, flat, simple space. And instead of using his colors, kind of like here, I was inspired by the colors of this floral, which did happen to look a lot like his. I was inspired by that. But I think I'm going to try and make a background that's a little pinkish, kind of where he had a warm here. So let's try a new one. Let's pick this up a little. See what we can come up with here. A look at my, maybe the tiniest bit of alizarin. That was the family of red, the cool red, as like a donut sprinkle. Less than, it's like a grain of salt. That was the color of warm that I used to desaturate some of these, and I may use some of these pale gray greens to desaturate this so it doesn't look so much like bubble gum. This is a soft mixing white that I'm using. I actually kind of like the bubble gum. Maybe what I'll do, even though his is a solid flat, some of the other ones are more complicated. So maybe I'll do like half solid bubble gum and then the other half I'll desaturate it. So let's see if I can cut this down. I'm going to use the greenest of the green that I have to see if it desaturates and neutralizes out like Munsell says it will. Ooh, yeah, pretty. Those will look good together. And I think I just made that color, which makes sense if I desaturated with the green and it came from the sap green, but there's enough blue in it against the red of the alizarin that it made us a little bit of a violet, but it was the complement that made that gray. So fun. I love color theory. Whew. Okay, so our painter I was looking at used tape, I think. I'm not sure. I was thinking about maybe being inspired by this for breaking up the space, not just the ribbon, but the invitation suites. So maybe I'll just compositionally tape out this kind of rectangle space. I started this horizontal, so I think I'm going to keep them all horizontal. I think, what would that look like? Vertical? No. So we're gonna just loosely translate this. Again, being inspired by the way that the artist that I'm referencing is breaking up space, but allowing my subject to drive where I go with it. So we're going to try his tape method. Clean these out in a bit. I always try to scrape my paint out of my bristles so that I can use it later and not put it into my cleaner jar. Just put these aside for now. Might start a fresh brush that doesn't have the green family in it. I'm just gonna load the wet brush a little bit with my quick dry solvent-free medium. So this is my thin, my linseed oil is my thick. This Gamblin solvent-free medium is similar to a liquid product, but since I'm painting in my home studio, I'm gonna try and stay away from some of the stuff that is stinky. I wanna see what our guy did as far as darker values and lighter values and lower chroma. It looks like in this one he has the high chroma in the middle. So let's try that. I'll put the low chroma here and the high chroma there. Wonder if on camera this looks white. I'm not sure, but it's really this super pretty purpley gray. I have to remember how to make it. I'll grab a little medium. I'm using a clean brush so that I don't contaminate my stuff. And that helps change the viscosity of the paint so that it flows across the surface nicely. Got old paint chunks in there, yucky. Okay. So you have an option here. This would be where you could let it dry for a little while and then pull the tape and then tape out the other sides. Or I think I'm gonna, just because they're little tests, peel it and then try to freehand cut the darker value. Ooh, can you see it now? It's fun, right? Yeah, and inspired by the Stationery Suite. So here's the bubble gum, the brighter one. And on my palette, it's not so drastic. I might bump it up just a little bit. Barely. I'm going to use this paint too, just so that I'm using it. Yeah, that'll be fun. That's what it was. Here we go. It got a little of that gray green in there, so it's a little bit dulled out, but oh, that's fun. I call this the cut a straight line exercise. Painting away from the edges. yeah, and it seems like a lot of work to build out the background so slowly, but I think it's why good paintings are so good. Like, I think that's why his painting is so amazing. It's not just that he rendered a cool landscape, which he did, but it was the way that that landscape had a neat designed world around it that gave it any kind of cool gravity. It's a little crooked. It's okay. All right. Just gonna leave it like that for now. Just keep it real simple since we're taking apart, kind of deconstructing, analyzing. I'm gonna straighten that out. I can't take that. There we go. And then we'll see how that influences me when I come back to maybe put my subject of my flowers over it. I think this is going to be really neat what that does, and that it was inspired by this strange breakdown of space. It'd be neat to ask him, you know, where these shapes come from. Maybe it is in his statement. I can find out. This one is neat. It looks like, you know, he's just letting the one point perspective kind of pull us back into space with the path and lead into a void. But I don't know how he's deciding, and that's kind of what we're trying to figure out with our own decisions as we keep making. So I'll turn off the video and then be back when I start my last two little deconstructions. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.